Okay, so as promised, I am back with the secondary material on Harriet Martineu. So we shall begin in a moment. পড়াশোনা হচ্ছে তো গাইস, লেখাপড়া করো। এই কথাটা অ্যাকচুয়ালি আমার নিজের জন্য। So sorry, excuse me. Give me 2 minutes. Okay, so now we'll do Valerie Sanders again, but a dedicated chapter she has written on Deerbrook. Okay, so Harriet Martineu's Deerbrook by Valerie Sanders. Let's switch on the timer. Timer দিয়ে পড়াশোনা করবে, ভালো লাগবে। যাক, এতক্ষণ পর নিচ্ছি আমি, very good. Introduction, the core concept, position and importance of Deerbrook. Let's keep it simple. Deerbrook 1839 is Harriet Martineu's only 3-volume Victorian domestic realist novel. Victorian domestic realist novel. It focuses on middle class life. Opening critical comment in this chapter by John Morley in 1877 described Deerbrook as a book that gives rational pleasure once, not one readers eagerly reread. So it's a criticism by John Morley, who said in 1877 that Deerbrook is a kind of a novel which gives pleasure once, rational pleasure once, not one readers eagerly reread. What this means? That this novel is respectable and intelligent, but not emotionally gripping or repeatedly pleasurable. And why this matters? It suggests that the novel is serious, not sensational. I mean, you can go back and read Persuasion, Emma, Pride and Prejudice, Wuthering Heights, Tenant of Wildfell Hall and everything, but not Deerbrook. The novel is serious, not sensational. It implies restrained style. The style is very restrained. So John Morley described it as a book that gives rational pleasure once, not one readers eagerly reread. What this means? The novel is respectable and intelligent, but not emotionally gripping or repeatedly pleasurable. And why it matters? It suggests that the novel is serious, not sensational, implies restrained style. Now we'll come at Martineu's own overview. In her autobiography, if you don't know about when she wrote her autobiography, what else she wrote, please go back to my first video on the Martineu series and then come back to this video, okay? So in her autobiography, she says the novel was unusual for its time. Why? Because it focused on middle class domestic life. At that time, this focus was not common. We see Hester, Margaret, and Hope, and the richer families like the Greys and the Rowland family, and then the widely richer like Lady Hunter and William, right? But the main focus is on the middle class situation of Hester, Margaret, Hope, right? And then we have Philip and Dearby and Maria. So yeah, because the novel was unusual for its time. Why? Because it focused on middle class domestic life, and at that time this focus was not common. Literary context, we'll go to the transitional position. The novel stands between Jane Austen and early domestic realism. Jane Austen লেখা আমরা পড়েছি এবং early domestic realism এর লেখা পড়েছি, এই বইটা জাস্ট মধ্যখানে নভেলটা। Later Victorian novelists like Charlotte Bronte, Elizabeth Gaskell and George Eliot, all of them read and enjoyed Deerbrook. Why this transitional role matters? It shows Martineu as a bridge figure. She helped develop the Victorian realist tradition. যেমনটা তেমনটা ওইটা করতে সাহায্য করেছিল। So Jane Austen and early realist domestic novels, okay? Early domestic realism. Deerbrook was read and enjoyed by who? I'm sorry. That is George Eliot, Elizabeth Gaskell, and Charlotte Bronte. Again, why this transitional role matters, it shows Martineau as a bridge figure. She helped develop the Victorian realist tradition. Now we'll quickly go over Deerbrook's plot summary. So the setting is a fictional village, of course, Deerbrook, apparently peaceful, actually full of gossip and distrust. I mean, it got on my nerves at so many points. If you don't read the novel, you'll not understand why. So please go and read. Okay. So it appears apparently peaceful, but it's actually full of gossip and distrust. Main characters are Hester and Margaret E. Watson, recently orphaned sisters. They were living in Birmingham. Right. From Birmingham, come to stay with relatives. And who are the relatives? The Greys. Consisting Mother Grey, Father Grey, and we have Sophia, Sydney. What was the younger child's name? The twins, Fanny Mary. Yeah, I remember. And then we have Edward Hope, village apothecary, that is who is the doctor, attracted to Margaret, marries Hester instead. Yeah. We have Mrs. Grey, who influences Hope and warns him Hester thinks he prefers her. Okay. Core plot conflict is, it's not really this, but is that Hope initially felt that he was attracted to Hester and he was ready to marry Hester. He eventually marries Hester, but later he realizes that it was not Hester, it was Margaret who he was actually attracted to, but then it was too late and he never acted upon it. Margaret also had a similar kind of feeling, but she also never acted upon it, and it ended. It never began, actually. And Hope accepted Hester as his only beloved, honorful beloved. Core plot conflict, the love triangle. Hope prefers Margaret, but believes Hester expects his proposal, fears hurting Hester, proposes to Hester, creates awkward menage a trois, three-person emotional tension, the classic triangle. What is it called? Menage a trois. Menageatrois. Hester's character, she's jealous. She has these manic episodes. Okay? Emotionally insecure, undermines peace of marriage all the time. Why is this important? Because their marriage is built on misunderstanding, emotional imbalance at core. There is emotional imbalance because Hope can't love Hester with his full heart initially. So yeah, Hester's character is jealous, emotionally insecure, undermines peace of marriage. And why is this important? Because their marriage is built on misunderstanding, emotional imbalance at core. There are subplots. What are the subplots? Number one, Margaret and Philip and nearby. The relationship disrupted, caused by malicious neighbor like Mrs. Rowland. Who is Mrs. Rowland? Sister of Philip Enderby. Based on misunderstandings. There is Hope's professional struggles, local election. Hope votes against village landowner, causes hostility. Of course, how can you vote against our village landowner? Rumors, accused of grave robbing for dissection. Literally. And community suspicion, because if you can vote against him, you can do this as well. So Hope votes against village landowner, causes hostility, rumors, accused of grave robbing for dissection. Community suspicion. Final crisis, outbreak of fever. Hope's medical skills proven. Community finally recognizes his competence and marriage stabilizes with Hester. Because Margaret eventually moves on. I had to burst this pimple, guys. I'm so sorry. Themes. What are the themes of this novel? Excuse me. I never stop at one. First is love and marriage. Definition: marriage of Hester and Hope is shaped by miscommunication, jealousy, social pressure. Jealousy, miscommunication, social pressure. Village illusion. Deerbrook seems idyllic, but it's filled with gossip, distrust, and malice. Point number 2, the themes. The sensitive individual versus community. Intelligent, sensitive individuals suffer in narrow communities. Mr. Hope. This article is very easily forgetting about Maria Young. I'll not let you all forget about her. So yeah, Margaret is also Maria and Margaret, both of them actually, are sensitive individuals who suffer in narrow communities. So let's just talk about Mr. Hope. He's conscientious, he is rational, he makes poor marital choice, makes unpopular political choice, misunderstood by the whole village. Okay, intelligent, sensitive individuals suffer in narrow communities. Mr. Hope, conscientious, rational, makes poor marital choice, makes unpopular political choice, misunderstood by village. There are literary comparisons here. George Eliot, Lydgate, Middlemarch. Lydgate from George Eliot and Middlemarch. See, Hope can be compared to these characters, I'll tell you. First is George Eliot লেখা Middlemarch একটি character Lydgate. Similarities কি Hope আর Lydgate idealistic doctor, unwise marriage, unpopular political stance, suspected of improper medical interest. এর grave robbing, right? Next is Charlotte Bronte's Villette থেকে Dr. John. Elizabeth Gaskell's Wives and Daughters থেকে Mr. Gibson. Common traits again এদের all are doctors by the way, not Mr. Gibson. So common traits হচ্ছে they are very rational, they are decent, they are morally upright, and they are slightly misguided. এগুলো খুব important. Idealistic, unwise in not in other arena, but marriage definitely. So they are rational, they are decent, they are morally upright and slightly misguided. Literary pattern, Martineau helped create the medical practitioner as a romantic hero, the apothecary as a romantic hero. এটা আগে হয়নি। ওকে ফলো করলো জর্জ এলিয়ট, মিডলমার্চে আনলো ডক্টর লিডগেটকে, শার্লট ব্রন্টে আনলো ডক্টর জনকে in Villette, and Elizabeth Gaskell আনলো Mr. Gibsonকে in Wives and Daughters. The governess figure, very, very important. Maria Young. Governess to Grey and Roland children. Roland বাচ্চাগুলোর মধ্যে আছে হচ্ছে Matilda, George, Anna. She's lame, physically disabled, says she's out of the game romantically, that who will marry me? Meaning disability removes her from the marriage market. Role in novel, role ki observer of relationships. ও কিন্তু খুব deep philosophical কথাবার্তা বলতো, বুঝে না বুঝে নয়. Observer of relationships, Margaret's confidant, emotionally repressed and social commentator. She is an observer of relationships, Margaret's confidant, emotionally repressed and a social commentator. Literary lineage, Maria linked to Jane Eyre. Remember Jane Eyre by Charlotte Bronte. Lucy Snow, again of Charlotte Bronte, Villette. Agnes Grey, Helen Huntingdon. Shared traits are she's intelligent. All of these women are intelligent, emotionally restrained, and socially marginal. Okay, Maria is linked to Jane Eyre, and there we have Lucy Snow, Agnes Grey, and Helen Huntingdon. Jane Eyre, Lucy Snow, Helen Huntingdon, and Agnes Grey. Jane Eyre, Lucy Snow, Agnes Grey, and Helen Huntingdon. Shared traits, all of them are intelligent, emotionally repressed, and socially marginal. We have the sister plot motif. Two sisters involved with the same man. Menage a Trois, if I remember correctly. Just let me get the name again. No, where did it go? Menage a Trois. Menage a Trois. 3-person. Emotional tension. I'll just note it down in a different place so that I remember. I did not even copy. I am a foolish person sometimes. Sometimes, guys. I have been procrastinating so hard. Whatever, I'm starting and I'm near the end. Touch wood. Okay. We'll go to the sister plot motif. Two sisters involved with the same man. Also, two sisters involved with the same man is used by Charles Dickens in The Battle of Life is used by Geraldine Dewsbury in The Half Sisters and Elizabeth Gaskell in Wives and Daughters. Importance: it's a recurring Victorian narrative choice, okay, and explores female rivalry and limited marriage option. Like, ভালো লোকের খুব কমই তখনও এখনো. So recurring Victorian narrative device explores female rivalry and limited marriage options. Now we'll come to a few critical reception. Contemporary initial response is moderate enthusiasm, high expectations because Martineau used her real name, and we all know how blatantly publicly successful she was as an economist, as a historian, and as a sociologist, right? Major complaints, Kiki. Quiet setting. Plot criticism Kiki diyeche. Quiet setting. Artificial একটা plot based on misunderstanding. মানে ওটা গোটা novel misunderstanding এর উপর লিখে গেছো. Criticism বলছে, আমি নই. Plot criticism কি? Quiet setting, artificial plot, and completely based on misunderstandings. Edinburgh Review বলছে, events are very few. It's tame, it's strife, মানে literally ছোট ছোট জিনিস, and no great interest. মানুষ কি নিয়ে ইন্টারেস্ট হবে? এথেনেম বলছে, হোপস সাফারিং ইজ আনকনভিন্সিং, মানে জাস্ট একবার ভিলেজ ল্যান্ডওনারের আগেনস্টে ভোট দিয়েছে বলে এত কিছু ভাই, it's unconvincing. And G.S. Venables in Blackwoods says calculated their finances, showed they were still comfortable, implied exaggeration of hardship. এটা একটু আমারও কথা, মানে একটা চ্যাপ্টারে বললো কি মিট আর ওয়াইন কেনার টাকা নেই, আবার নেক্সট চ্যাপ্টারে মারিয়া ইয়াং যখন এলো ওদের ঘরে যখন আবার ওই ডাকাতিটা হলো আর কি, যেখানে মার্গারেট ওই টার্কোয়েজ রিং আর হেস্টারের ঘড়ি নিয়ে পালালো, তারপর মারিয়া ইয়াংকে নিয়ে ওরা ওয়াইন আর মদ খেয়ে শুলো, এই মাংস খেয়ে শুলো. হাউ ইজ ইট পসিবল? So calculated that finance showed they were still very comfortable and implied exaggeration of hardship. এবার একটু প্রেজে আসি. প্রেজ ফ্রম নভেলিস্ট. শার্লট ব্রন্টে কি বলছে? শার্লট ব্রন্টে felt new pleasure, experienced genuine benefit, যেরকম করেও লেখা যায়, তাই না? জর্জ এলিয়ট surprised at depths of feeling, especially যদি আমাকে মেনশন করতে হয় depths of feeling, I'll say of Margaret and the other is Maria Young. So surprised at depths of feeling. Sales, it was steady, not spectacular. Reprinted during 19th century. No immediate similar follow-up except The Hour and The Man. Very different novel about, I can't pronounce this name. What is? Toussaint Louverture. Okay, so no immediate similar follow-up এর হয়নি novelটার. Martineau's later judgment. Martineau নিজের ডিয়ার ব্রুককে নিয়ে কি বলেছে শোনো এবার. 1855 she criticized her own novel, found laborious portions of meditation. So she herself criticized her novel, okay? Found laborious portions of meditation, considered them objectionable. আমি এত ভাটিয়ে গেছি ভাই ফিলসফির নামে. Laborious portions of meditation, ধ্যান করে যেটা পাচ্ছি উপলব্ধি করছি ফিলসফিটা. Considered them objectionable, meaning too heavy, too didactic. I guess that was also one of the reasons why Martineau's works declined quite a bit. It was considered too didactic and she herself admitted. 20th century criticism কি বলছে? এটা 19th century তে গেল. Early 20th century কি বলছে? Few criticism পেয়েছে, grudging tone আছে. Feminist revival. After Viraggio edition 1983 edited by Gabby Wiener, Penguin Classics edition 2004 edited by Valerie Sanders. Feminist interpretation, proto-feminist reading, shows limited roles for middle class women. Proto-feminist reading কি বলছে? মিডল ক্লাস উইমেনদের জন্য লিমিটেড রোল দেখিয়েছে. যে ওই একটা কনভারসেশন আমার মনে আছে হেস্টার এই মার্গারেট আর মারিয়ার, যে তুমি আনএডুকেটেড হলে এই করতে পারো, এডুকেটেড হলে এই করতে পারো, যাই হোক. সো ইটস ভেরি লিমিটেড এবং সেটা দেখিয়েওছে. So like shows limited roles for middle class women. Anti-feminist reading বলছে suggests women prone to jealousy and irrationality. এবার এরকম পোর্ট্রে করাটা ভুল বলছে, কিন্তু ক্যারেক্টারের ইউনিকনেসটা তো থাকবেই. I don't agree with this one. So anti-feminist reading বলছে suggests women are prone to jealousy and irrationality. Women and work in the novel. একটু কিছু philosophical dialogues. Of course, Maria and Margaret. They discuss paid employment. এক্ষুনি what I told. Conclusion ওরা এটাই দিচ্ছে যে খুব কম অপশন, মেইনলি গভর্নেন্সের কাজ, এই মেইনলি টিচিং or feminine gender of tailor and hatter. meaning limited economic agency তো আছে modern relevance debates about work versus emotional fulfillment যে আমি কাজ করে কি ইমোশনাল ফুলফিলমেন্টটা পাচ্ছি এইগুলোকে নিয়েও ডিবেট হয় এখন এবং এই ডিবেটগুলোতে ডিয়ার ব্রুক comes as a handy novel still relevant today. Caroline Roberter view গুলো একটু দেখে নেব 2002 Maria more complex than critics suggest this is also my point avoids pathological despair মানে ওর তো every reason আছে to get pathologically despaired or depressed কিন্তু she avoids it she does not collapse emotionally despite limited option একা থাকতো মেয়েটা was physically lame right physically disabled and governess ছিল আবার Roland মানে কি বলবো was her patron was pathetic Mrs. Roland so whatever so Maria was more complex than critics suggest avoids pathological despair and she does not collapse emotionally despite limited options. Excellent. Okay. Narrator's question why is love মানে স্যান্ডার্স জিজ্ঞেস করছে why is love the chief experience and almost only object of a woman's life মানে critical interrogation of female social conditioning কিন্তু করা হচ্ছে I am forgetting the famous woman's name মানে I'm very sorry was it Charlotte Smith or was it Charlotte Bronte or the other one yeah I'm forgetting যে বলেছিল যে আমরা তো ভালোবাসার ব্যাপারেই লিখবো কেন লিখবো না oh I'm so sorry it was Jane Austen from Persuasion ক্যারেক্টারটি মানে আমাদের প্রোটাগনিস্ট যে বলছে যে ভালোবাসা ছাড়া আমরা আর কি নিয়ে ভাববো আমাদের তো ভাবার অন্য কোনো অপশনই দেওয়া হয়নি সো এক্স্যাক্টলি ডিয়ার ব্রুকও করা হচ্ছে লাইক ওয়াই ইজ লাভ দ্য চিফ এক্সপিরিয়েন্স অ্যান্ড অলমোস্ট ওনলি অবজেক্ট অফ আ উম্যানস লাইফ মানে দাঁড়াচ্ছে যে ক্রিটিক্যাল ইন্টারোগেশন অফ ফিমেল সোশ্যাল কন্ডিশনিং করা হচ্ছে and connection to Martineau's review of Villette 1853 she criticized Bronte thought Villette was too focused on love yet Deerbrook acknowledges women have few alternatives it's a bit hypocritical on Harriet's part Jay you are yourself saying in Deerbrook that why is love the chief experience and almost only object of a woman's life because there are no other options less alternative options তো Villette যখন ব্রন্টে সেটা করলো you criticized her right so we'll just do a final assessment representative Harriet was a representation in Deerbrook we find representation of early Victorian middle class life occasionally witty socially observant right socially observant deeply concerned for rational scientist hope intelligent impoverished woman who is Maria so overall evaluation দাঁড়াচ্ছে Deerbrook is a representation of early Victorian middle class life occasionally witty socially observant deeply concerned for rational scientist intelligent impoverished woman rational scientist deeply concerned for rational scientist and emotionally impoverished woman works cited section we don't need this so a middle class realism to village setting to love triangle to marriage built on misunderstanding medical professionalism versus gossip women's limited work options sensitive individual versus community proto-feminist tensions central contrast to village peace versus gossip and suspicion, love as fulfillment versus love as social trap, rational man hope versus irrational community, female emotional life versus economic necessity. $70 কথাটা. Yeah. Yes, so we are done. Alright guys. It was good studying the second material. I'll come back with the third and then with the fourth soon. Stay tuned. Please subscribe to the